Welcome to Malaky Studios. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about composite shots actually inside of Panzoid Video Editor. So let's get into it. So the first thing is you need to go into your actual program right here, and you're going to come up to this corner right here. You have this option, which is your composite option. And what we're going to do is we're literally going to take this and just drag it into the bottom into whatever track you want, and then select onto that clip. So now that you actually have that, it's going to show this box area selected inside the viewer, and this is because now that we have the layer selected, basically in the timeline we only have this one visible clip, even though we're going to select on that and be able to add multiple clips or images and text and different things like that into it, even though it will be only one element on the timeline. So with that selected, and now you want to come up into this panel, and we're going to select on this edit option, and this is literally going to pull up all the options for this specific clip. So as you can see, you have the resolution. If you wanted to create something and you had everything animated in it, but you wanted it to like slide in, for instance, you could just animate the position on that, animate it coming in, and then you would have everything coming in then with all of the separate animations and stuff inside of it being left completely fine, and it will just play that, but instead it will slide in right before. So that's a really awesome thing. You also have blend modes and different options there. Now that we've actually looked at the edit page, now it's time to actually go down into the objects panel. So basically this is where we're actually going to be doing all of the compositing aspect of it, adding images, text, and different things together to create one clip. So with that, let's go here, and basically you can actually select on this plus button, and as you can see, you can add images, text, preset shapes, adjustment layers, composites. You can even add 3D scene renderer and basically add 3D objects into a scene. There are a few different things I want to let you guys know. So the first one is at the top, you actually have a type to filter. You can use this, for instance, if like, let's say we want the text, for instance, you could just type in text and it would pull up the custom text option. You could even just do something like, for instance, we want an adjustment layer. It would just pull it up to the top. Once you have that, I'm going to actually add an image first. What I'm going to do is going to add two different images. I'm going to be using one of the thumbnails I've actually made for a previous video. So we're going to use that, for instance, and we're also going to add another one. So as you can see, we have this one selected and it's on the top, and you can also rename them real quick. So we're going to call this thumbnail 1, and then we're going to go to the other one and we're going to call this one thumbnail 2. But the first thing is you notice that we did not see any change actually in this. So one of the reasons why is actually because thumbnail 1 is on top of thumbnail 2. So for instance, if we wanted to be able to see the other one, we have to make sure that's on the actual top layer, or we have to change the blend mode to be able to blend in between them. So I'm going to move the second one to the top, and as you can see, now it is actually completely visible to us, that second one, and we can even select on that and change all the parameters. You can add effects directly to them, but I want to show you guys something else. So with that, you can actually add an adjustment layer. If we wanted to make sure all of these were blurred out, so we could add text onto it, select on it, and you can add an effect. So if we do this, we can literally just do, like, I'm going to type in a blur, for instance, and we're going to use a Gaussian blur. I'm going to boost it up a little bit, but as you can see, it's not affecting anything yet because the layers matter a lot in this. So when you do this, basically drag this above whichever one you want it to affect, and as you can see, it's affecting thumbnail 1, but it's not affecting thumbnail 2, but we do want to add this to both. So I'm going to drag this right above thumbnail 2, and as you can see, now it's affecting both of them. So with that, I'm going to actually start adding the text real quick. So I'm going to do the add text real quick, and we're going to select this, and we're going to call this fun test, just for fun. Now that we have that, I'm going to drag it onto the top, and now it is actually visible, and we can actually see exactly what we're doing with it. So I'm going to just do a few tweaks and stuff to the final result real quick. And as you can tell, actually now we have just this basic text that says fun test on it. which is a very useful thing especially. So now I'm going to actually show you guys the preset shapes, and then we're going to actually talk about the 3D rendering in this. So I'm going to go back over to the other side real quick. We're going to add a preset shape real quick, and I'm going to drag it on top so we can actually see it inside of the viewer. I'm going to drag it onto the top so we can actually see it inside of the viewer, for instance. We can see that little circle right there. But with that, I'm going to select on that preset shape, and you can change whatever it is. We have ellipse, we could do a rectangle, for instance. We can change position very easily. I'm just going to move this so it's directly on in the middle in between these two. Fun test, for instance, real quick. So now that we actually have that, you can change anything with it. So I'm going to just make it black, for instance, for now, with like a white border. And we can boost up that white border so we can see it a little bit better. And that is the basics of the preset shapes, but I'm also wanting to show you guys the 3D element of it. So let's do this add button again, and instead we're going to go down to our scene renderer. So when you do this, it automatically adds them to the bottom, but we do want to see this on top. So I'm going to drag it automatically to the top. We're going to select on this. The first thing I would recommend is actually adding a camera. So press the plus button next to it, search in camera, and if you click on this, there's two different options. Basically, one of these will lock you to specifically the 2D aspect, so only X and Y. Meanwhile, the other one will give you X, Y, and Z to actually be able to mess around with the camera movement. And basically, if you wanted to, you can either animate the entire camera or animate just the element itself. So with that, I'm going to just go with the 2D one, for instance, just as an example. So we have the camera in now, and I'm going to add, we can add a light, we could add text, shapes, particles, for instance. You can literally just click that, add it, make sure it's on. So it was in a sphere, we can make it in a box or whatever. We have a disc, sphere, that one looks pretty good. A box, that kind of looks cool. I think the sphere looks a little bit better. You can change positioning of everything, which is just amazing. I'm going to undo that. You can just tweak until your heart's content. You can change, like, for instance, the textures of it. There's like overlay, all of these really cool ones, for instance. Basically, you can use all of this together to create some really amazing final results. And with that, you can literally just take this, for instance. So we got this animated effect or whatever on it, and we can just insert this into whatever video you wanted, export it. You could do just a whole lot with it, and you have 3D scene control. The last thing I want to say about the 3D scene control and stuff like that is the fact that it is not as powerful as their clipmaker tool, which is basically their real big 3D option, and you can take those and actually import them. But basically, you don't have that great of control over 3D and 2D cameras, so really, I would not necessarily recommend it. You can't, like, move around a whole bunch, but if you really wanted to, you can use that inside of your composites. The other thing is you can add composites inside of composites, as you can see whenever we did the plus button, and you can see the composite option. But when you do that, it's just going to add basically another layer to it, and you basically create multiple composites inside of it. So if we wanted to add text with like a filter on it and then move that, for instance, we could do it as a composite inside of a composite and then animate that one composite instead of animating all of these different characteristics of it. So yeah, things like that. It can get really, really advanced. It can also stay really basic, all depending upon your needs. But with that, that is really the basics of using the composites options inside of Panzoid Video Editor. And with that said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I do have a playlist over here with all of the other Panzoid videos. We have a full walkthrough if you want to know how to find it, download this program, or just find it online. We got you ready right here. We also have a video over here that YouTube recommends for you. And with that said, guys, remember, keep on editing.